to another episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Though today's episode is going to be a little different because it's going to be What Are You Creating? I'm Karen E. Osborne. I hope that you have been following this series, but if not, uh, I am an author and I am the author of Getting It Right. And my new book, Tangled Lies, comes out July 22nd of this year. I'm very excited. I'm also very excited about my guest today. I want to introduce you to Gasby Brown. She is a philanthropic guru, fundraising guru, nonprofit management guru, and she is a visual artist. And you're going to have a chance to see some of her amazing, amazing art. Welcome, welcome, Gasby.
Oh, thank you, Karen. It's just so delightful to be here with you. We always have great conversations, and you know I'm on your cheerleading team for your success, for your authorship, and the new book that's coming out. I can't wait to read it.
Thank you so much. Well, before we talk about your art, which is the main thing we want to talk about, we also want to hear about what you're reading these days.
Well, I just love Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. I loved when she wrote Warmth of Other Suns, which was talking about the migration of African Americans from terrorism in the South. And that was such an elegantly written book. She did not disappoint with Caste. And it really gives, it's so well researched because it also gives the foundation for the systemic racism in this country by looking at the caste system in India and looking at about 8 pillars that support this whole notion of caste, which, by the way, supports systemic racism in this country. And it was just so elegantly written. I just really love her writing. And then she was really optimistic at the end, which and she uses anecdotes as well to describe some of the brutalities that took place during enslavement and beyond, during the Jim Crow era, and some of the discrimination that took place also. And so with the way she reveals everything, it's like peeling an onion, layer by layer, and looking at it, and sometimes smelling like an onion and making you want to cry, actually, because it's so raw. It's raw. And so I really enjoyed that book so much and would recommend it to anyone. And then I also have read something it's a book entitled The Color of Compromise by Dr. Jemar Tisby. He's a relatively young author and a young man who is an historian from the University of Mississippi. And he's written this book that chronicles the complicity of white Christian churches with slavery and racism. Some of the sacred cow leaders of the church are being exposed for what they believe. And at the same time, he's giving great information on how to address the problem. So I really love that. And then I'm reading the Bible, the New Testament, in a year. And that's really great. My husband and I have our devotion times every morning, and we're going through the New Testament in a year. So you can check back with me in a year about the New Testament.
Where are you up to?
Oh, we're just at Mark right now.
That is great. So you read and discuss it? Is that you read and then have like a little Bible class discussion?
Actually, we do. We really do talk about our understanding of what we just read, how it's relevant to today. We try and look at practical application for it too, and look at the interpretation through some other resources that we have in the kinds of Bibles that we have. We have what you call concordance Bibles, where we can look up things. And so it's been really a great journey to study the Bible and especially the New Testament in a year.
That sounds fabulous. That sounds fabulous.
And then I have one more. I have one more.
Yeah.
And that's by Adam Grant, and it's called Think Again. And it's called Think Again, The Power of Knowing What You Don't Know.
Yes, and you and I both just got that, and we're both just starting it. So we'll have to talk again about
Yes,
about what we think. Although Adam Grant is amazing, and I'm sure we're both going to enjoy it and get a lot out of it. Okay,
yes.
so now let's thank you for those recommendations. Now
You're
let's talk
welcome.
about your art. And you came to so the first question I have is to tell us a little bit about your journey, your artistic journey, and why you named your art business uh, as you did. So if you could share that with our audience, that would be wonderful.
All right. I'm so happy to do that. Well, in 2002, I was having these dreams and visions of painting objects, trees in the main, and they were so pervasive. I couldn't get away from them, and so I woke up one morning and I told my husband I'm going to start painting. It wasn't, honey, what do you think about it? I'm thinking about it. What do you think? It was a declaration. And as a result, my business is called No Permission Needed because I needed no earthly permission to do this. And so I went to Michael's and got paint and canvas and brushes and just started painting because of these visions. Now, remember, I've never painted at that point in my life. So, therefore, this was all new. There were people who were cheerleaders, which I listened to, and there were people who laughed at me because they know me to do the philanthropy, the nonprofit work. Oh, Gasby is painting, ha 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 ha. And so, with that, I listened to the people who were in my ear who said, "You can do it," and just began to paint. Just started in 2002, had my first show in 2004 because people began to ask. My husband and I, we entertained a lot, and someone recommended just hang your art all around your house. And after a while, people began to ask if they could buy a piece. And you want to buy a piece of my art? I can't believe it. A few of them that laughed at me. So here we are on this journey and decided to have a show in 2004 in Washington, D.C. at the Jefferson Hotel in its grand foyer. And I sold over 32 pieces of art, which at that time, I didn't know what I didn't know. So I didn't even know that that was good until I began to talk with the artists. And they said, that was
That was
darn good.
really, really good.
And so I just continued and to paint what was in my head and heart. I really love painting from the African American experience, which is and you will see some of the reflections of that in some of the art that we'll talk about as we move ahead here in this conversation. But now I have about 400 of my pieces owned by people across the country in Canada and in the Caribbean, and I'm not stopping. Sometimes my husband calls them my painting marathons, where I just start painting at any point in the day, and I wake up and the birds are chirping the next morning. So
That
it's
is so wonderful. There's a parallel, some people ask me how I started with my first novel, and it was because these women were talking to me in my head. Just like your trees just came to you, these women just started talking in my head, and I have to go write this down. But show us some of your pieces.
Yes, so absolutely. Now, one of them I wanted to show you if I'll turn this a little bit this way to see if you can see the women there sitting around a table in a backyard.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes, that's called garden party. And that's something that many people who are not African American see in us, that we have elegant garden parties with lemonade and tea and crumpets and the whole 9 yards, and we dress up in hats and have elegant and wonderful fun with one another in fellowship. So that is one of the expressions. And then the one behind me right here, that's called cloud of witnesses. And there is a scripture in the Bible that talks about a cloud of witnesses. And this is depicting the witnessing and the cloud of witnessing of our freedom as people. Then
Wow.
over here, I have this one is called right here
Mhm.
uh, self evident. And I have been fortunate enough and blessed enough to create a giclée, and the giclée is the highest form of print. So I'm going to show this to you. Can you see that okay?
Yes, yes.
And you can see that it is dedicated to, you can see We the People, that's an icon within it. Some of the founding fathers who we know what they looked like, and other things, including the women of all races that marched for equality. And this is called Self Evident because you can see she's wearing an apparel that says Future President.
Yes, yes. Those are lovely. Those are
So
wonderful.
that's coming out. That giclée is coming out. And as I said, giclées are the highest form of prints. They're the best quality. I've signed them, and they're available through Carlos Reid. That's REID gallery.com. Go on there and just select Self Evident, and you'll see the art there and see more about it.
And where else can our viewers, listeners, see your art? Is there, and
Well,
in touch with you?
yes, www.nopermissionneeded, there we go again, .com. And they can get in touch with me there. Would love to hear from you and get your thoughts on what you think about the art and some of your interpretation. I find sometimes that people have a totally different interpretation of the art that I created. You know, that whole thing about it's in the eye of the beholder. So it's really fun to get other people's perspectives on the art, and I'm so happy to share it.
That's what great art does, doesn't it? It touches people and it brings out something in them that they almost add to your art. You know, they're
Yes,
Yes, it's a really wonderful and beautiful thing. Well, I want to thank you so much, Gasby, for coming and being with us today. And I know that you want to follow her, go see her amazing art, her amazing collection of art, buy a piece. Be sure to, to do that and grace your home with her lovely creations. And please, if you've enjoyed this episode, share it with friends. Let other people know. And we hope to see you next time for What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? /creating. Take care.